What's going on, guys, and welcome to the next Crack a Pack episode. Today we're opening up a pack of Legions, something that I don't know we've ever actually opened on this series before, so I'm really excited about that. This week has been fantastic for packs, by the way. We had Ice Age, Scars of Mirrodin, and now Legions. Pretty awesome packs, so pretty excited to open this one. I did not really collect or play during this time. I think I did have some Legion cards back in the day, but honestly, I do not know really what the set is about. I believe some tribal synergies were there, so we'll see what we get there, but of course we're going to go through every card and figure out what our first round draft pick would be. Our first card here is Echo Tracer. It's a 2/2 for 2 and a blue. You can morph it for 2 and a blue, so you can play it face down as a 2/2 creature for 3 of any color, and then you can flip it face up at any time for its morph cost. When it is turned face up, return target creature to its owner's hand. So this is pretty strong in my opinion. I really like this card. I definitely would want this in a blue deck. It's a super huge tempo play, especially early in the game. And so for me, this is definitely a very, very good card. Nantuko Vigilante is a 3/2 for 3 and a green. It does have morph as well for 1 and a green. And when it is turned face up, destroy target artifact or enchantment. So this is a little bit less good in my opinion. It is still powerful. Being able to destroy target artifact or enchantment is a great ability to have. It's some really, really good tech. And so if you can use it, I definitely would want it. I would mainboard this most likely, just because it can still be played as just a 2/2 for 3 no matter what, because of that morph ability. So I really like this. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the Echo Tracer though, and so for me, definitely not as exciting. Macetail Hystrodon. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It's a 4/4 for 6 and a red, which is a lot, but it does have first strike and haste, and you can cycle it. So for 3 of any color, you can discard this card from your hand to draw a card. So that makes it a little better in my opinion, being able to cycle this if you just really don't have the mana or you need a specific card. Cycling is a really, really good out for cards like this, which are generally just way too expensive. This is not an exciting card for me though. A 4/4 for 6 and a red is like way too expensive. It does have first strike and haste, which I like, but I don't think that makes it worth it. I would play this if I needed to, if I was in a red deck, because of the cycling though. I do think that that makes it worth it. So not exciting, but not terrible either. Deathblade Elite is a 1/1 for 1 white. It has Provoke, so when this attacks, you may have target creature defending player controls untap and block it if able, and then you can pay 1 and a white, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and dealt by Deathblade Elite this turn. Really interesting ability there. I think this is a perfectly fine 1/1. I don't think that it's super exciting. Being able to maybe tack on some enchant creatures or something like that and provoke your opponent into defending it is pretty good, but you're still relying on more than one card just to make that happen. Obviously, if they're playing early drops or something like that, you can maybe trade this off for something, so maybe it's worth it in that regard. But in general, I'm not super excited by this card. It's definitely not better than the Echo Tracer. Embalmed Brawler, I love the art on this card. So it's a 2/2 for 2 and a black. It has Amplify 1, so as this card comes into play, put a 1/1 counter on it for each zombie card you reveal in your hand. That's pretty powerful. So when it attacks or blocks, you lose 1 life for each 1/1 counter on it. That's obviously a huge downside, but that's classic black in my opinion, especially during this time of Magic. It makes sense. It's obviously focused around the zombie tribe. You really, really want to make sure that you can pack your deck full of zombies if you're going to make this card worth it. I like the Echo Tracer more. I like the tempo feel of that versus the aggressiveness of a card like this. It also is less reliant on other cards, which I think makes it a little bit better. But this is definitely a powerful card. If you're in a zombie deck, this is exactly the kind of turn 3 play you're going to want. If you can reveal even 1 or 2 zombies out of your hand, it's more than worth it. A 3/3 for 3 is great. A 4/4 for 3 is amazing. Yes, you do lose life whenever it attacks or blocks, but it's going to put you in such a commanding position that I do think it's worth it. So I like this card. Echo Tracer, though, is definitely better, in my opinion. Skirk Marauder is a 2/1 for 1 and a red. You can morph for 2 and a red. And when it is turned face up, it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. This is just straight up early game removal. It's on a goblin, obviously, so it's even better. I really like this, actually, surprisingly. I don't know if I like it more than the Echo Tracer, though, to be honest. I think probably, honestly. It is straight up removal. It deals 2 damage to either target creature or player. So you can get rid of something in the early game that they cannot replay where you can with the Echo Tracer. And if you just don't have a target, you can flip it face up and just deal that damage straight to the opponent. That can kind of get you out of a sticky position if you need to, and just deal the last couple points of damage to your opponent if you've got them down far enough. So I kind of like the Marauder over the Echo Tracer. I really like them both, but I think that's a little bit better. Needle Shot Gorna, hopefully saying that correctly. It's a 3/6 for 4 and 2 green. It may block as though it had flying. So 3/6 for 6 is pretty it's not terrible, but it's not good. 3 power is really bad, but being able to block as though it had flying does make it a lot more worth it. It's going to be able to deal with a lot of the early game flyers that you might see out of like a blue-white flyers strategy or something like that. And so for that reason, I think this is pretty good for holding off stuff like that. I definitely like the Marauder better, though. It's 100%, in my opinion, just a better card, so not super excited on that one. Flamewave Invoker is a 2/2 for 2 and a red, and you can pay 7 and a red, and it deals 5 damage to target player. This is a really interesting card. There's, I believe, a cycle of the Invokers, if I'm not mistaken, in this set, and they all cost 7 and then whatever color that they are. Obviously, that's a lot of mana that you have to throw into this, but it is a good mana sink. It is something that is just straight up 5 damage. That's a quarter of your starting life total just for 8 mana right off the bat. Which is pretty good, but obviously it is still on just a 2/2 body, and for 3 mana, that's obviously not the best value for cost there, but I would not mind playing maybe one of these in my deck just to give me that out. I don't think that this is an amazing card, but it's definitely one to have. I definitely like the Marauder better, there's no question in my mind. Wall of Hope is a 0/3 wall for 1 white. Obviously, walls cannot attack, and when it is dealt damage, you gain that much life. So this is a pretty interesting blocker. I don't like it more than the Marauder. This is much more of a defensive card. Obviously, it is a wall after all. The Marauder is much more proactive, deals with the creature, hopefully can get in for a couple points of damage. This just gains you a little bit of life and blocks for a while. This is very easily going to just be outclassed by better creatures, and yes, you'll gain some life, but you're also going to lose it because you're not doing that much. I will say, though, if you are in just like a white weenie kind of strategy or something like that, this isn't the worst turn 1 play. If you can play it on turn 1, I think it's worth it. If you can't play it on turn 1, it's really just not very good. It's just going to die, maybe gain you a little bit of life, but it didn't do anything, really. And so not the most exciting card in my opinion. Vile Deacon is a 2/2 for 2 and 2 black, excuse me. When it attacks, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of clerics in play. Again, seeing that tribal synergy there. This is a really powerful card if you've got a lot of clerics. Generally speaking, I don't like to be super dependent on that so early. If I end up in that deck, that's great. But I like the Marauder better because it functions on its own very, very well. On its own, the Deacon is literally just a 2/2 for 4, which is real bad. So not super excited by that, not as much as the Marauder at least. Void Mage Apprentice is a 1/1 for 1 and a blue. It also has Morph for 2 and 2 blue. And when it's turned face up, you do counter target spells. So that's pretty powerful. You can morph this on turn 3 and then turn 4, leave it up as a counter if you want. I don't like that you have to leave up that mana just to counter. I think the Marauder, again, is a little bit more proactive. You can just do it whenever you need to and deal that damage to anything that you need. So it doesn't really matter if it's a creature or a player. This, obviously, you have to wait on a spell and you have to leave that mana up to do it. And so not quite as exciting in my opinion as the Marauder, but definitely a pretty good morph card. Definitely one I'd like to have if I was in a blue, maybe tempo strategy or something like that. Our first uncommon is Root Sliver. Forgot slivers were a tribe in this set. So it's a 2/2 for 3 and a green. It can't be countered, and sliver spells can't be countered that you play. Obviously, excuse me, not just that you play. I should be more specific. Any sliver spell cannot be countered. That does qualify as your opponent's as well. This is a really powerful card for that Sliver deck for sure. I wouldn't worry too much about this in Limited, though it is worthwhile, just because counterspells, while they will be prominent, Void Mage Apprentice being a prime example, I don't think they're going to be as prominent as in Constructed, where this is much more of a sideboard card against like control decks or something like that. If you're in a Sliver strategy, this is a pretty good turn 4 though. It's not bad. It just kind of protects you against those decks, which is fantastic. I like the Marauder still a little bit better, sorry about it, but I do really like the Sliver strategy. If I could get a really good starting Sliver, I would definitely want to go into that just because Slivers are so fun. Deathmark Prelate is a 2/3 for 3 and a black. You can pay 2 a black and tap it and sacrifice a zombie. Destroy target non-zombie creature. It can't be regenerated. Play this spell, or play this ability, excuse me, at any time you could play a sorcery, so obviously only on your main phases. This is pretty powerful though. Just being able to straight up destroy a creature for one of your own that is a zombie is pretty good, because a lot of times zombies have abilities to come back, things like that. There's a good synergy going on there with the clerics and the zombies, which I like. I don't know if I like it more than the Marauder. I'm gonna keep it here for now. We'll talk about it obviously depending on what we get. Goblin Clearcutter is a 3/3 for 3 and a red. Tap it and sacrifice a forest. Add 3 mana and any combination of red and or green to your mana pool. This is a really interesting goblin. Not what you would expect. It's mana ramp. Yeah, you do have to sack a forest. That I don't like. I don't think I would want this in Limited, to be honest. But it does technically kind of ramp you, but it then sets you behind the next turn. It's classic kind of goblin strategy in terms of just giving a lot to get a little. I don't really like this card though. I don't think it's worth it in my opinion. I'd much rather just be able to keep playing my lands on time and then not lose them to a card like this. So not super exciting in my opinion. And then our rare is Vexing Beetle. So it's a 3/3 for 4 and a green. It cannot be countered, and it gets +3/+3 as long as no opponent controls a creature. So that's an interesting ability. I love that it can't be countered. I think that's great. It's just random upside, basically. The fact that it gets +3/+3 as long as the opponent doesn't control a creature is interesting. So the thing about it is that makes it just kind of a win more card. Like it's good in that situation, but if it's not in that situation, it's just an unblockable or an uncounterable, 3/3 for 5. 5 is pretty expensive for that. I don't know if that's good or not. I kind of lean towards not. I don't think that's as good as either of these two cards, to be honest. I just think it's a little too expensive. This is obviously a fairly expensive ability in that you're sacrificing not only a zombie, but obviously 3 lands for the turn to play it. But it is reliable and it's repeatable, which I like. Excuse me. The Marauder is obviously a one-shot deal, but it's a little bit cheaper, and it's just kind of a good, reliable early game card. So kind of like that. I don't know. I could kind of go either way. I think I would go with the Marauder just because, again, it's good on its own. You're not relying on other things, and it's a little bit easier to do just in terms of mana. Though, again, if you were already in sort of a zombie strategy, I think the Prelate is exactly the kind of card that you want. So that's my opinion. Feel free to disagree in the comment section below. I feel like this might be one where a lot of people disagree, and that's perfectly fine. So with that though, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like or a comment down below. And as always, please make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of our awesome content. But with that, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next Crack a Pack episode.